Hey folks, it's Samantha once again, and if you hear a noise, it's because my heater's on. Getting pretty cold out there. Sorry. Hope you guys have enjoyed your Thanksgiving so far. Or it's probably well past that. Hopefully it was safe and sound and Black Friday and all that. Just been busy uploading a lot of stuff to get caught up on. So I want to do something completely random, which is what I like to do the most. And the random thing today is pick a random year, this being 1992, and looking on IMDb what horror films came out that year, I picked up my top 10 favorite horror films of 1992. Now, if people enjoy this, please let me know in the comments, and then I can do maybe other years and do like action films or comedies of top 10 of that year, as well as maybe do a worst of as well. So again, let me know if you like this stuff. I will continue it. But picking up my top 10 favorite horror films of 1992. Now, sometimes years are kind of weird and off kilter, but based on IMDb and what I looked up on Wikipedia and so forth, these all came out in 1992. And also, if you disagree, that's fine. It's my list, my video. Again, my top 10 favorite horror films of 1992. So let's go backwards and go with number 10. And number 10 would have to be Pet Sematary 2 at number 10. A film directed by Mary Lambert, who directed the first film. Actually produced by Ralph S. Singleton, who directed a favorite of mine, Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. He actually produced this film. Stars Edward Furlong. You also have Anthony Edwards, Clancy Brown. And I remember this being a decent film. I mean, a lot of people didn't like it because they said it was less quality and it was pretty much a remake, which I would disagree because I think there's enough differences. I mean, yeah, you have an animal that is killed and brought back. Well, maybe not an animal, but something's killed and brought back. I'm trying to think. I believe it was a cat in the first film. I believe it was a dog in this one that was killed and brought back. I believe so. I could be wrong. I haven't seen this in a while, but I do remember that also there was, in the first one, a baby killed, brought back. Here it's Clancy Brown, who is a lot of fun. I remember Lion Dollar when he's trying to drill someone. He's like, no brain, no pain. Get it? I thought Clancy Brown did a good job as an asshole sheriff. The idea is pretty just rude, mean, maybe abusive. Well, no, maybe, but he's an asshole. Of course, when he dies, it comes back. I thought Clancy Brown was having fun. I thought Edward Furlong, this is a year after Terminator 2, where I thought Edward Furlong was still kind of decent. I thought he did a decent job in the lead role. Although it's kind of weird going from Terminator 2 to Pet Sematary 2. Anthony Edwards I liked as the dad. I didn't mind the idea that the Edward Furlong's mom, I believe she was an actress, that got electrocuted, died, and long story short, they moved to this town. And this says here, yeah. When Drew's daughter is cold-bloodedly shot by Drew's stepfather, Clancy Brown, the boys bury the body in the local Indian burial grounds, awakening an unimaginable evil. So yeah, it is the dog. I remembered right. But yeah, when he gets there, he meets this kid, Drew. Yes, in the first film was a cat, here's a dog, and then it builds up. But you just say it with a lot of sequels. If you really want to say it's a remake, you just say a lot of sequels do that kind of stuff. But I liked Anthony Edwards' character, who's a veterinarian. I liked Anthony Edwards as an actor in films like Miracle Mile, and of course Top Gun, a film I liked called Gotcha. I thought he did a good job. I remember a scene where, because of course the dog's evil, he's a vet, and he had a bunch of kittens, and being a cat lover, what can I say? I love pussy, both versions of pussy, and the little baby pussies were killed. They were eaten. And you see the remains, and I remember that being pretty grisly. Ooh, shit. Ew. Yeah, I like kittens, so I was like, ugh, fuck. But it did its purpose. It's something I do remember to this day. I remember liking the finale more in this one, maybe because the first one is more depressing. While this one is not as depressing because the son and father, Eddie Furlong and Anthony Edwards, do get out of there alive, so it's again not as depressing. I do remember there was a Ramones song in this film as well. Like in the first film, there's "I Want to Be Buried at a Pet Cemetery." I forgot the song in this one. I haven't seen it forever. I need to rewatch it again, but I remember it being a decent time waster. Clancy Brown being fun. Edward Furlong and Anthony Edwards, especially Anthony Edwards, being pretty decent. Definitely was rated R, had some strong violence in it. And I thought Mary Lambert did a decent job with the sequel. I don't think it was that bad of a movie, Pet Sematary 2. Not great, but I remember it being decent. And that's why it's number 10. Now, number 9 would have to be a film that I have reviewed on my channel, but it's Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth, which I know some people didn't like because they tried to go a different way with the Hellraiser films. It's directed by Anthony Hitchcock, who has another film that came out this year, which is much higher on the list. Like I said, I reviewed this film. You'll look on my channel for the review, and this was a DVD sent to me, which I'm thankful for, from overseas, because it's the uncut version, and it has a commentary with Anthony Hitchcock and star Doug Bradley, interview with Doug Bradley, interview with Anthony Hitchcock, the director, and on-set interviews from back in the day. Trailer has a lot of good features. And what I liked about it, Pinhead is definitely the star of the film, where his soul has been split between the good version, who was a soldier, and then the evil version, which is Pinhead himself. And that's why Pinhead's a little bit different, because he doesn't have the human part of his soul to hold him back. And of course, it helps when you make Pinhead the star. I thought Doug Bradley did a good job. I thought the girl, Terry Farrell, was decent. Not as good as Ashley Lawrence in the first two, but I thought she was okay. I thought it was the last good Hellraiser film, because the ones after that were not much, and again, I reviewed them, so feel free to check them out if you want. But I didn't mind the new Cenobites. I mean, granted, I don't understand why they couldn't bring back the old Cenobites. But the new ones I didn't mind. A lot of people didn't like them, but I didn't mind the CD guy. I didn't mind the guy with the camera. You get some fun gore. The camera that punches a hole through someone's head, I remember. And there was one guy who was actually the writer, Peter Atkins, as sort of like this Molotov and would blow fire. I didn't mind them, seeing some new Cenobites. When they fuck up the club and you have a brief shot of Zach Galligan getting killed, because he had worked with Anthony Hitchcock in Watchmen 1 and 2. And the whole bar scene, that club, I should say, massacre, I thought was pretty fun to watch. You have some not so good morph effects when the two souls try to get back to one. And then I thought Pinhead got taken out a bit too easily, at least in my opinion. So it's not perfect, but I thought it was a nice change of pace. Certain sequences that I remember, for example, Pinhead mocking God and doing the pose in the church. I thought Doug Bradley was having fun, and again, I see him have a bit more dialogue. Maybe a little bit slow to get going, but it does start with a bang, where there's a hospital sequence and a guy who you get the idea open the box, and there's chains, and he just explodes in the hospital room, and that was a fun way to open it. But some would say maybe Penn is a bit too chatty in it, which I can understand, but I was fine with it because I like Doug Bradley, and I thought he did a good job. So overall, and you do have like a little brief cameo from Ashley Lawrence on a video that someone's watching. Overall, I thought it was a decent film. Fun gore. Like, didn't mind the new Cenobites. The massacre in the club was fun. Some good gory special effects. I like seeing Doug Bradley as the good form of his character, the soldier. That was nice to see. Doug Bradley get a little bit more to do. And yeah, Terry Farrell, I mean, she was okay. I've seen better, Ashley Lawrence, but I've seen much worse in some of the other sequels. So overall, I didn't mind Hellraiser 3, but I like Anthony Hickox as a director. I like Full Eclipse. I like Waxwork. I love Waxwork. And of course, another one that's going to come in this list I definitely love. But again, I talked in depth about my review, but I didn't mind Hellraiser 3. I liked it for what it was. Now, number 8 would be The Lawnmower Man, which of course you have no Stephen King mention on this because they tried to put Stephen King. I think there was even a trailer that they had said Stephen King, but that you could tell they muted it out. Because Stephen King wrote a story called The Lawnmower Man, which was pretty much a guy who, it was a very short story where a naked guy ate grass, had grass pubes, and then killed a guy with a lawnmower that he controlled for a sacrifice to some Greek god. And I'm like, he ate grass, he has grass pubes, and there is a scene in this movie where a guy gets killed by a lawnmower controlled by the bad guy. So that's most of the fucking plot of the fucking story. Because it's not much of a story. Other than the grass pubes, eating grass, and Greek gods, which was stupid. Maybe that's when Stephen King was on his cocaine binge and wrote that shit. But pretty much Stephen King said that has nothing to do with my story. Take my name off, I'll sue. He was successful, so no Stephen King. And it was followed by a sequel, which was a piece of shit. But I like this movie, The Lawnmower Man. I've always enjoyed this film. Now, this is a 108-minute version. I've heard there's an over 2-hour version. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's even out there to see, but that's what I've heard. But this only has a commentary with Brett Leonard, the producer. 12 deleted scenes, so maybe those are the scenes. I guess a few interviews from back in the day. I wouldn't mind seeing a more of a special edition of this. Because I like this movie. I mean, Jeff Fahey plays a guy named Job who's a slow-witted, simple-minded guy. He's a gardener. The lawnmower man. He mows the lawns for people. A guy who's his friend is played by Jeffrey Lewis, who was in Double Impact and Every Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood. But, he gets picked on. He gets treated like shit by... There's like this religious guy that would whip him if he did something poorly. And then in comes Pierce Brosnan's character before he did James Bond films. Lawrence Angelo. He uses, hey, Job, let me use you as a guinea pig for this machine to help you be smarter. And it works, but then it keeps going more and more and more, and Job wants more and more, and he starts developing some kind of power because of it. He can move stuff with his mind, he can do more and more stuff, so he wants the use of the machine more and more, and so it becomes more power hungry. And it becomes more of a superhuman being. And then you have this evil group called The Shop, which I know is referenced in Firestarter with Stephen King, that kind of fucked things up, fucked things around. And I know one of them actually kills Jeffrey Lewis, that character. And pretty much Gob wants revenge. He wants revenge on the people who fucked with him, and wants revenge on the shop, and pretty much wants to get into, what does he call, the internet at the time, and sort of create his, be a god, a cyber god. If I remember reading that Brett Leonard had a script called Cyber God. That's the title of it. And it's like, okay, let's take that script, but then let's put in this Stephen King and mesh the two together. Then Stephen King won his name off it because whatever. And thus it just became The Lawnmower Man with no Stephen King. And I thought Jeff Fahey did a great job. I like Jeff Fahey as an actor. My favorite film he did was Body Parts, but he did a wonderful job as Gob when he was simple-minded. He was easy to root for. You felt sorry for him. You felt bad for him. And then showing him getting smarter, I think Jeff Fahey pulled it off well. It wasn't out of the blue. It wasn't, well, that's unreal. You bought it because I thought Jeff Fahey pulled it off well. And you still felt sorry for him. And then most of the people he hurt was people he was getting revenge on. Even at the end when you have this figure, which I always like that look. I mean, yeah, some of the VR stuff is definitely 90s in its special effects, but for me, they have a charm to them. Maybe because I grew up with it. I remember at the time, if going to a Radio Shack and testing the computer, and there'd be these games that they kind of looked like this kind of stuff. So I didn't mind the look. And then Brett Leonard did that a lot. I mean, Virtuosity, which is my favorite Brett Leonard film. I love Virtuosity. That's definitely my favorite. And Hideaway, which was all right. But considering the plot, it still features some of this kind of effects, which was strange. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. But I thought Brett Leonard did a decent enough job. Pierce Brosnan did fine. Yeah, I even like these sort of suits they wore when they got on these machines. Kind of looked like something out of Tron. They did these machines to try to get Gob smarter. And Austin O'Brien, who would be in Last Action Hero, he makes a little role appearance in this, as well as the sequel, which had Matt Frewer playing this role, and the sequel was dog shit. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was this says here, this is set for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde struggle for the control of Gob's mind. And even the ending was interesting, where they think they get him, they've stopped him, and then when Pierce Brosnan is about to leave, all the phones in the world are ringing, showing that Gob did succeed. Then you get to the sequel, which is pretty damn awful. But Lawnmower Man, the first one, I never minded. I always remember that scene, the virtual reality love scene. Which, again, I know people make fun of the effects, but I don't mind. Because it's VR, so I could deal with it because it's VR. It's not meant to be real. It's meant to be in a VR, especially in 1992. So I could easily give it a pass. I thought, again, these two actors, Jeff Fahey and Pierce Brosnan, did a wonderful job. Decently directed. I forgot what. Yeah, it is rated R. Some of the revenge he does, he has the priest, I believe, on fire. And he does that thing where he makes the lawnmower kill someone. Not gory, but you get the idea. But it shows that in his power struggle, I mean, he's gone too far, of course, and he needs to be stopped. And I always liked this look of Gob, the VR version of Gob. I always liked that look. I always thought it was a cool look. And that don't blow any minds nowadays, but I thought this was a decent film. I never minded the film. And I'm not going to go too in-depth because I'm sure one day I'll review these more in-depth. But again, this is just sort of giving my top 10 and sort of giving some thoughts on it, at least. But that's number 8. So Pet Sematary 2 was 10. Hellraiser 3 was 9. Lawnmower Man was 8. Now, number 7 would be a film that I did review. And trying to remember, I had it here, and whoops, I had it there, and I can't remember where I put it. Ah, here it is. It's a film I reviewed, and I reviewed the 2 sequels, and the 2 sequels were pretty poor in comparison. But number 7 has to be Candyman. Of course, written and directed by Bernard Rose, executive produced by Clive Barker, Virginia Madsen, and Tony Todd is the Candyman. Now, like I said, I reviewed the 2 sequels. I have the second one on Blu-ray. Someone was very nice enough to send that to me, so I figured it'd be right to review it. And I reviewed all 3 of them. They're still on my channel. But this is the only good one. I know at one time Eddie Murphy wanted to do this role, and thank God he did it. Not do it, because look at Vampire Brooklyn. It's a piece of shit. But Tony Todd did great. I mean, I did a bid review for this. Long review for this. I don't know what more I could say. But Virginia Madsen did a nice job. Tony Todd was fantastic. Remember Ted Raimi at the beginning of the film in his cameo when his girlfriend dies? Some very vicious, brutal gore in this movie. Like the psychiatrist, the guy talking to Virginia Madsen, whoever he was, and just Tony Todd gutting the shit out of him from the back, and then just flying back through the window and having her take the credit for the kill. Really felt sorry for Virginia Madsen's character. And just scenes that are just memorable. For example, the sequence where someone's talking to her about this kid who died in a bathroom, and the camera pans, and you see a kid on the floor screaming of the bathroom, and around his groin there's blood. There's dialogue that, you know, they cut off his dick, a little kid's dick. And you saw enough that it's like, oh, you know, it wasn't too over the top, so it was, okay, this is too much, but it was enough that it was like, ooh, that's a bit unsettling. And having it take place in the projects was a good location for this kind of dark fairy tale, ghost story type of movie. And yeah, Tony Todd, great job. Virginia Madsen, you felt sorry for her. Very well directed movie. I know he did another film called Paper House, which I haven't seen, but yeah, Bernard Rose. Weirdly enough, because of the name, I always thought it was a woman that directed it, but you know, you look at the features, no, it's a guy, Bernard Rose. But yeah, I mean, I did a long review for this. Feel free to check it out if you want to hear my in-depth thoughts. But definitely a good one, Candyman. That's why it's number 7. Now, I believe I did a review for this. Yeah, I did. I think I did like 2 reviews. One like 5 years ago, and one like maybe a few years ago. There's a nice guy named Dustin that sent me this DVD. And number 6 is the very quirky comedy horror film, The Vagrant, with Bill Paxton, who's doing a pose of Home Alone in there. And this is a very, I mean, maybe it's a cheat to put in horror, but it's sort of a comedic horror movie. It's directed by Chris Walas, who directed The Fly 2 and did effects for, I think, the Fly. I think Gremlins. Yeah, because I think Rick Baker did the effects of Gremlins too, because he was doing films like The Vagrant. Actually, no, by that time I think he was doing The Fly too. Sorry about that. But The Vagrant was a really interesting... First, Bill Paxton is this ambitious guy that gets this, has his job going up in the corporate world, has his new home, and just this vagrant just keeps fucking with him, played by Marshall Bell, and just has a really wicked, dark sense of humor. I mean, his mom dies while he's in court for a crime he didn't commit. His mom has a heart attack. They're putting the gurney out, and then the mom fucking slides off and slides down the steps of the courthouse. And Bill Paxton's like, "Mom!" And just like this guy, he's fucked with him. Of course, people don't believe him. Michael Ironside is one of the cops, and Bill Paxton just getting more and more paranoid, and just can't let this guy won't shake off him, and he even puts all this security around his house, and it drives him out of the house, and people think he committed murder, and he didn't. And he runs out, and he actually moves away to a trailer park, which Marshall Bell follows him, and murders another person. He's got to get out of there, and then realizes that Marshall Bell, the Vagrant, is this, I think, like former professor who's like doing his own type of thesis on, I forget exactly what it was, but I believe I did a review for this. You check out my review for my further thoughts on it, but I thought Bill Paxton did a great job. Michael Ironside has a small supporting role as a detective. Marshall Bell, I thought, was great as the Vagrant. And it has a dark, wicked, fun sense of humor, The Vagrant. It's definitely an interesting movie. And I thought, again, Bill Paxton did a great job. I like Bill Paxton as an actor. Again, this is a very, I would call it, yeah, I would put it in a horror film type of aspect. It's definitely a quirky, interesting, comedic horror. Dark sense of humor, The Vagrant. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely suggest checking it out. It's definitely worth at least one watch. And again, I did a longer review. It's on the channel. Now, number 5 is a film that one day, not anytime soon, but one day I'd like to do a longer review for. This is a fun, pretty funny slasher movie from the 90s starring Larry Drake. And yes, number 5 is Dr. Diggles. Slasher film that no one ever talks about. But I'm on the Sausage Factory. I know Pizzal mentioned this. And I have fun with this movie. I didn't grow up with this film, but I saw it quite a few years ago. And Larry Drake, he's a ball in this movie. He's having so much fun. They should do something for this and get Larry Drake in for an interview. Because if he can do an interview with Dartman, have him do an interview for this or a commentary. I mean, again, Larry Drake is just a lot of fun, and I think it's one of those things you either like him in this movie or you hate him in this movie. Because him giggling, I didn't deal with it in this movie. There's certain movies that the giggling, like, oh shit, shut up. But here it just fits his personality, and it's just, there's a decent enough idea. Crazy as fuck surgeon. And just, the kills are over the top, tongue in cheek. I mean, he kills one person, has a big ass bandage around their face to suffocate. It's rated R, but it's not. Honestly, the kills are not too gory. Well, they're a little bit gory, but they're not Saw films type of gory, if that makes sense. It deserves an R rating, but it's not tremendously gory, again, like a Saw movie would be. And they're definitely touchy. I mean, maybe I should keep quiet about the other kills and let you guys see it. I remember one moment I gotta mention, though, is that there's a talk about when the Larry Drake's character was a kid, and I believe it was someone his mom or dad died, or someone died, and they're looking for the kid, and the kid hid himself inside the body. So there's a scene where the body is like convulsed, you're like, what's going on? And a hand pops out, and the kid comes out all bloodied up from inside the body and stomach of a, I don't know, I forget if it was his father or his mother or just another body, but I just remember that image going, that's really crazy. Remember the acting being pretty decent. Duddy Doug is in this, and he does get killed. But yeah, it had a fun sense of humor. Some pretty inventive kills. Acting was pretty decent. Fun bit of tongue-in-cheek in its way. And yeah, Larry Drake was having a fun and a ball. It was fun to watch him play this role, Dr. Giggles. So I think I had the song Doctor, give me the news. Or maybe that's like my friend Mike did, or someone did like a tribute to this with that. But fun movie. Fun slasher movie. That's why, people say the 90s suck, but, again, here's 10 movies that I enjoy, and this is one of them, Dr. Giggles. I thought this was a fun movie. Fun flick. Number 4, I want to say this for a zombie marathon. Of course, one title is called Brain Dead, or as a lot of us know it, Dead Alive. One of my favorite zombie films. One of the craziest fucking zombie films. This is the widescreen uncut version, thankfully. But yeah, this is when Peter Jackson was worth a shit. Because honestly, the last time he was worth a shit to me was The Frighteners. I like The Frighteners. I don't like the Lord of the Rings films. They were boring as fuck. Hobbit films, I could give a rat's ass about. King Kong sucks my fucking dick. I saw it in the theater. I wanted to walk out. I didn't. Especially when King Kong is ice skating with a bitch. Fuck King Kong up his King Kong ass. The new movie coming out, I don't know. I don't care, but I know I hate Peter Jackson's King Kong. I miss this Peter Jackson. And by the way, why is there no fucking special edition of this movie? I mean, that dumbfounds me. Dead Alive. Probably the goriest film I've ever seen in my life. Has a fun sense of humor. Has so many fucking crazy scenes. I'm like, how the hell did they afford all these special effects and just all this craziness and fun? And again, I want to wait until I review zombie movies. I want to do like a zombie marathon. Do the George Romero films, Return of the Living Dead films, Reanimator films, as well as this. Maybe like ended with this because it's one of my favorites because the insane amount of gore, but it's fun gore. An entire rib cage being pulled out. A priest that says, I teach ass for the Lord, and kicking bunches of zombies' ass. But then he gets like impaled in a really gory fashion. When the lead guy gets a fucking lawnmower and just going to town. A zombie baby punches a hole through a woman's face and does this. I mean, this kind of happens in the movie, except imagine a baby zombie punching a hole and doing what she's doing with the hands, but the zombie baby's like pulling it apart. Or like a zombie's head getting on a light bulb. And there's so many insane amounts of stuff that is just fucking crazy. If you've never seen the Dead Alive, especially the uncut version, you gotta be careful. There's an R-rated cut out there. Don't see that. See the uncut, the unrated version. This is a DVD from Lionsgate. I don't know what year, but yeah, it's widescreen. But yeah, no features, which sucks. Fucking sucks. But if you've never seen Dead Alive, you gotta check it out. If you think this, and also when you check it out, if you think the beginning's a bit slow, keep with it. Because when it gets going, it gets really fucking going. I mean, it just, again, when people say, oh, I can't do it, there's a low budget. This film had a low budget, and it's insane, the amount of effects, and well done effects, by the way. They don't look stupid, they look good. The insanity in this movie, just insane. Insane movie. Insane film. Definitely deserves number 4. And we did to my top 3 favorite horror films of 1992. Number 3, gotta go with, I grew up with this film, watched it so many times when I was a kid. Love this sequel to death. That is Waxwork 2, Lost in Time. Love the first one, love both these movies. I don't know why there's no Blu-ray of this. I don't know why there's no special edition of this. I guarantee, and in fact, I've heard that Anthony Hitchcock and Zach Galligan would gladly do a commentary for both films. Why isn't there one? Get the full uncut version of Waxwork 1, Waxwork 2 have it on there, and get fucking features and have this in widescreen instead of full screen shit. God damn it. This is back in the day when there was a company, Artisan was still around. Which is no longer around. For a long time. But yeah, I love the first one, but I love Waxwork 2. Zach Galligan stars. I mean, it takes place right after the first film. It follows the girl home. And her father, who's an asshole, pretty much gets the shit kicked out of him, beaten up by a disembodied hand that you saw at the end of the first film. And I thought Anthony Hitchcock did a great job in this because she gets put on trial. Zach Galligan, I like Zach Galligan as an actor. I even think he did better here. I liked him in the first film, but I think he even did better in the second film. Like, she didn't do it, you idiot. They had to figure a way to prove her innocence. Patrick Macnee, who's in the first film, he makes an appearance here. He had filmed some stuff about, he had a device which was sort of a gateway through time and through dimensions. And just a lot of good references in this movie. Like, before they see that, they go into Patrick Macnee's place. Like, the guy had been to a lot of places, so you see like a bloody, not quite Jason's hockey mask, but you get the reference and a lot of other stuff. And pretty much, they go through time and dimensions, and each thing they go through, it's another reference to something. And it's just a really fun horror adventure, because they did to Frankenstein, and you get some fun over-the-top gore, where like the Frankenstein monster is squeezing the head. It's over-the-top gore. It's meant to be fun. Where eyeballs pop out and the brain just pops out and Zach Galligan's running, he turns and the brain just gets rid of it. There's another moment where they get separated. Zach Galligan gets pulled into a black and white The Haunting type of, where Bruce Campbell makes an appearance. And there's a scene where I always die laughing that Bruce Campbell's tied up and his rib cage is showing, but he's still alive. And birds were pecking on it. And then there's like a bunch of shit on there where Zach Galligan has to put it, and Bruce Campbell's like howling, oh, wow, wow. Oh, and then he drops something. Oh, just something. He throws it, and he realizes it's like vinegar, and Bruce Campbell's like, ooh. And Zach Galligan's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then Bruce Campbell, he's actually playing a character. He's not just playing himself. It's like, oh, that's all right. Could happen to anyone. I'm doing a piss poor job. It just always cracks me up. And then his girlfriend, Zach Galligan's girlfriend, had gone into a reference of Alien, where instead of, it's totally alien. It's a spaceship, and instead of coming out from the stomach, it comes from the guy's mouth, and it doesn't look. It's an alien type. Again, they're going through time. The one drawback I'll say is that they get to a what do you call it? A period film, sort of the sword and sorcery type of period. And it gets a little bit slow, but he has some nice appearances. You have David Carradine, he makes an appearance, who gives Zach Galligan his sword. Alexander Godunov from Die Hard, he's good in the role as the sort of the masochist type of evil guy. And Zach Galligan has to lead them to. Yeah, you also have a creature that rips someone apart, pretty much. And pretty much you have a sword and sword play. And you have one of the best sword fights ever, because the device opens while Zach Geller is fighting Alexander Grudov, and they're pretty much having a sword fight throughout time and space. So they're having a sword fight going through all these portals of dimensions, and one moment, it's a Godzilla reference. And they see a Godzilla type, and like Zach Geller, and he's like, oh God. There's another moment, it's a Dawn of the Dead reference where they're in a 70s mall, and there's soldiers fighting, shooting zombies. And then they're cutting zombies' heads off. There's a moment where they're in a black and white Nosferatu. There's actually a small cameo. There's a quick cameo by Drew Barrymore in the Nosferatu. And actually, like, Zach Geller kicked Jack the Ripper into that realm, so Jack the Ripper's now trapped in the Nosferatu dimension. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I love the invention, imagination in this. And, it's just a lot of fun. Loved it since I was a kid. Loved it to this day. Just absolutely love Watchword 2 Lost in Time. Always enjoyed that sequel. Love it just as much, maybe even a little bit more than the first one, but I love Watchword 2. I did a review. It was like a 15-minute review, so one day I want to do a much longer review of that. Now, number 2, which is cheating, calling this horror, but when you look it up, it's horror is attached to it, so I put it on there. Army of Darkness. What can I say about Army of Darkness? I really enjoy the film. My introduction to Evil Dead films. I already did a long review of it. Love Ash in this movie. Bruce Campbell's performance, great lines. Here's my boomstick. You got 2 things going for you, Jack and shit, and Jack left town. I think I forgot that in my review, which I was pissed off about, but you got 2 things going for you, Jack and shit, and Jack left town. I mean, I wish he would use the chainsaw more. I wish it was more horror aspects, but I thought it was entertaining, fun, some fun skeleton work by KMB guys. Entertaining, fun adventure, a little bit of horror aspects, not too much. I did a long review of this, but I love Army of Darkness. I love the Evil Dead trilogy. Not much more I can say because I did a long review for it not too long ago. And number 1, I have to pick Split Second. Love Split Second. Find it highly underrated. Does have a decent market on IMDb, but there's no Blu-ray released in the US. This was a very nice gift from a nice girl named Hope, which I'm very thankful for to have this. This is a widescreen. Well, it seems like there's never really a widescreen of this film, but most widescreen you can get, which I'm thankful for. Because I only have this on a DVD-R, so it's nice to have a DVD. Even if it's from overseas, that's cool. Because actual DVD, not DVD-R. I love Split Second. I love Rutger Hauer as Harley Stone, my favorite character he's ever played. I love his back and forth with Neil Duncan. That's Detective Dick Durkin. Love the dialogue. He's such an expert. Why the fuck is he following me for? Or when Neil Duncan sees the creature, we need bit fucking guns. Or how Neil Duncan, he's like a nerdy guy, and throughout the film he's becoming more and more like Rutger Hauer's character. After he sees the creatures, it's coffee and donuts, and Rutger Hauer tells him, now we're going to get bigger guns. And Neil Duncan's like, hallelujah. And Rutger Hauer gives his look. Like, it's great back and forth between them. I love the look of the creature, which you rarely see, but maybe that's a good thing. And when you do see, he kind of looks like Venom from Spider-Man. And just the idea that he's a serial killer that's ripping out hearts and for this ritual he wants to do, for power and Kim Cattrall. I liked her in the film. I like the setting where it's in London. Granted, 2008, but it's in London, global warming, everything's wet, floods, rainy. I know the director got fired, and another director did the finale. Whereas the finale could have been a bit longer, but it was fun to watch. I mean, Rutger Hauer rips out the fucking creature's heart and blows it away and says, sweet dreams. That's badass. That's fucking badass. Love the score. fits the film well. Michael J. Pollard has a little cameo as the rat catcher. Granted, it doesn't have tons of action, which is I think why people didn't like it. But I love Roger Howard's performance. Guy was like has some connection with the creature, psychic wise, and always trying to get coffee, donuts, cigarettes. Just a lot of fun dialogue in the flick. Even I forget the actor's name, but even sort of the chief of police, where he's trying to figure out what these two are looking for. It's like, you're trying to tell me this guy is eating the heart, is stealing the victims' hearts and eating them, so you can take their souls back to hell. They're like, pretty much. And they walk away, and the chief of police goes, you're fucking nuts. What, I'm supposed to have an APB of a guy with a devil horn and tail? Yeah, I'm new. I bet he's got 2 fucking horns sticking out of his head, you pair of pricks. I mean, I think it's funny, and it's entertaining, and great leads, great chemistry between the two. Some nice sequences, like when they're in the morgue, and they see, like, bloody words saying, for you. Where they're like, what's going on? The creature's actually above the ceiling, it crashes through, and they're trying to hit it, and when it sees the creature appears, it's brief, but it's, I think, for me, memorable. Just, I always love this film. Would have loved to have seen a sequel. Would love a special edition with interviews with Rutger Hauer, Neil Duncan, the director. Why did he get fired? What happened? An actual Blu-ray, not from the piece of shits who did the Blu-ray overseas, because the same people who fucked up the Moontrap Blu-ray. From a different company. Maybe with a true widescreen version. I never understood, this is a very cult film and doesn't have a Blu-ray release in the US. I don't understand that. Doesn't have a special edition. More people know this film than fucking Terrorvision and The Video Dead or the fucking Garbage Pail Kids movie. But Garbage Pail Kids movie gets a collector's edition Blu-ray, but this fucking doesn't, and that pisses me off. Garbage Pail Kids movie gets it, and Terrorvision's Video Dead get it. But not Split Second. Don't understand it sometimes. I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, very underrated. I mean, really doesn't have a DVD in the US unless you want to get a mortgage. You pay $100, $200 for the HBO DVD in the US. So this doesn't even have much a DVD release in the US that you can afford. You gotta have a DVD overseas. What the fuck? But even like Rutger Hauer, The Hitcher doesn't even have a special edition in the US. Do some more Rutger Hauer films. Get The Hitcher, Blu-ray special edition in the US, and do Split Second. And hell, do Blind Fury and Wanted Dead or Alive. Why not? Well, what do I know? But anyway, to recap, my favorite horror films of 1992. Number 10, Pet Sematary 2. Number 9, Hellraiser 3. Number 8, The Lawnmower Man. Number 7, Candyman. Number 6, The Vagrants. Number 5, Dr. Giggles. Number 4, Dead Alive. Number 3, Waxwork 2. Number 2, Army of Darkness. And number 1, Split Second. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this, because it's easy to do and it's spontaneous, and you know, you can even pick like the year or the action films or horror films with like 1995 action or 1984 horror or 1989 sci-fi or something like that. Like, feel free. And if you want to do worst as well, if you want worst, let me know as well. Because it's fun to do. I want to do more top 10 lists for years, specific years. I think that'd be fun. And I don't want to just do top 10 favorite of any genre. I want to do like specific horror at you. It'd just be more fun and random for that. But yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.